Coming to you from 4,200 feet in the hills of Oregon, it is the voice of Chi-Town, the reddest beard in the high desert, your host of the MOA broadcast, Sam Wilson. All right, folks, we got a fantastic show lined up for you today. All kinds of good stuff. Just a couple of the upcoming highlights in today's broadcast. We have a cannibal attack in Queens. Police beatdown in New York. Yes, New York City yet again. And for those of you that aren't aware, Queens is a part of New York City. Now, this is an interesting one. A LASIK procedure linked to a suicide. And there's a whole deep dive on that's separate. We're not going to be able to get into today. But going to be an interesting story, and really kind of a sad one, too. And finally, Florida never disappoints. Florida man arrested with penis pump after police pursuit. That's a lot of letter P's in one sentence, but there you go. You can't make that up. Hope you had a good week, folks. We didn't have a show last week. There was no broadcast that went out. There was the holiday weekend, and then we got a whole bunch of things going on, so we went ahead and just rolled everything forward into one broadcast. Same thing goes with the true crime broadcast. Now, if you haven't heard these yet, these have actually been doing well. We've been getting a lot of good feedback from the true crime broadcast. This goes out. So the MOA broadcast that you're listening to now, that gets dropped every Sunday, morning through afternoon or whatever. And most people pick it up and listen to it, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or whatever when they get to work or whenever that winds up being. And it's typically about a 50 minute to an hour long segment. And but it focuses more on like current events. We do survival stuff. We do preparedness, all kind of fun things. Just kind of the whole range of things when it comes to, make it out alive. That's the whole theme. The true crime broadcast, though, typically drops usually on Thursday or Friday. That way you got something to kind of pick you up. It's usually around a 35 minute show. I do it more manuscript style because if you listen to the show regularly, you may know that I have a tendency to go off on tangents and so forth. The true crime, we have a little introduction, just like the regular MOA broadcast. And then it's a manuscript that I've prepared. I've done all the prep and the research for it, but we read it like a manuscript style, so it stays on point, and it's a little quicker moving, and it's a little bit more concise and succinct. So you don't have to sit here and listen to 3 to 4 minutes to get the point of what I'm saying, because, again, as we've noticed, I tend to meander a bit while making some points. So anyway, had some really good ones. We did the first 4 episodes. I think I've got 5 in the can already. The first 4 were about the Italian mafia, and now we're focusing on the Irish and other mafia associations and organizations here in the U.S. Typically, most of this is drawing from the 60s through the 90s here in America. It was a really, really wild time for mafia of all varieties and flavors. They just it was the wild, wild west. So anyway, we have one of those episodes drops on every Thursday, Friday. We're back on track with those this week as well. And I just want to recommend, if you haven't figured out how you want to listen to this, or if you're new to the show or whatever, the 2 biggest platforms by far we get most of our listeners is Spotify, which happens to be my personal favorite. It's extremely easy to navigate, at least for me. I'm not a real electronics guy, and I'm not really into like streaming services and everything else. So I like things as simple as possible. Spotify, all you got to do is create an account with an email address. You don't have to pay for it, and it's perfectly free, and you can get all the advantages, listen to the episodes, and even, set it up to it'll notify you when a new episode drops. The other one is the Apple Podcast program. I have really no experience with that other than I think I had an iPod mini almost like 15 years ago, and so I have no idea what the Apple Podcast program or platform is like now. But if you have either access to either of those 2 platforms, it's the easiest way. Now, you can also go to the www.gearconvoy.com website, and you can pick up everything there. There's an MOA broadcast tab at the top of the page, or wherever it is on your phone or whatever. But It has all the episodes. You can listen to them and stream them directly from the website. It's all free. All of this stuff is for free. We do offer video versions on the Patreon page, which you can find info for that on the Gear Convoy page. But otherwise, the audio versions are all free. So anyway, encourage you to check that out. And that way you can get the MOA broadcast along with the true crime episode as well. So that gives you a solid hour and a half of content weekly on an average week. So, if you're driving, working, taking the kids, wherever, run shopping, whatever else you're doing, you can get that. So anyway, let's get right into the show today. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, or suggestions, shoot us an email, info@gearconvoy.com, and we'll do our best to take that into advisement and put it to use. We also send out a free mini survival kit weekly to the best feedback / suggestion, whatever else. Again, that email is info@gearconvoy.com. Okay, let's jump right in. Our headline today comes to us from Queens. This is ABC. Queens man accused of attacking 9-year-old girl, biting off NYPD officer's finger. A man in Queens was charged with biting off part of the finger of an off-duty NYPD officer who was helping a child who was brutally beaten. The day before Mother's Day, a 9-year-old girl was standing with her mom on the corner of Central Avenue and 67th Place in Glendale, Queens, when a man approached her, asked her name, and then hit her in the face, knocking the child to the ground. How insane. The attack was caught on camera and is disturbing. According to Queens DA, the attack left the girl bleeding from her lip and arm and even made some of her teeth loose. But the rampage wasn't over, folks. The violence didn't end there. A police officer who was off duty at the time, did what good Samaritans do, and he followed and approached the suspect, who was 31-year-old Felice Enrique, who was not feeling too happy that day, I guess. He then proceeded to bite Officer Sebastian Hajder, I don't know, I'm sure I got that wrong, my apologies, sir, Hajder, on the knee, hand, and then the tip of his finger, which was bitten clean off. Doctors were unable to reattach it. So now think about this. I hate to use the word rampage, but this guy, I mean, you have to imagine there's got to be some type of substance involved here. He walks up to a 9-year-old girl, allegedly, punches her in the face. What did he do? Yeah, he approached her, asked her name, punched her in the face or hit her in the face, whatever, knocked her to the ground, left her bleeding from her lip, arm, and loosened her teeth up. And then a police officer, off duty, mind you, but still a cop, follows the guy, confronts him, and then they get into a beatdown. The guy bites him on the knee, hand, and then he bites off the tip of his finger. The suspect was arraigned on a grand jury indictment charging him with assault, harassment, and endangering the welfare of a child. Now get a little of this. There's been in a number of these articles and stories that we've covered in the past couple of months here on the MOA, which the Make It Out Alive broadcast, if you've forgotten, have been a number of people, communities, cities around the country have been pushing back on this soft on crime, quote unquote, approach to just giving bail, passing out giving people out bail tickets like it's Christmas time, and especially for violent offenders. Now, this guy was on parole in this case, but you got to wonder, on parole already, after spending 7 years in prison for attempted murder. So he's on parole from attempted murder, and then allegedly goes out, beats down this little girl, beats up this cop, bites off his finger. He's not through yet, though. After the attack, according to Katz, who was just the Queens, this is the Queens DA, Melinda Katz, she said after the attack, Enrique, according to her, he had told officials, this is the aggressor, he said, "This isn't the first time it's happened. I beat up her father. Yeah, I punched her." He also described eating the officer's finger. They don't say they don't say what exactly he said at that point, but they just say in the article he described eating the officer's finger. Now, in another report, they didn't get too much more into detail, but they said he chewed and swallowed the finger. It's gone. So, according to the other article that I read, I don't know how accurate that is, but that may be the reason they were in fact unable to reattach it to this poor guy's hand. And they showed a picture. I mean, it was nasty, man. That guy's finger is jacked up. He's He's going to have some problems. Man, Enrique was ordered to return to court on July 10. If convicted, he faces up to 25 years in prison. Now, isn't that a little odd? 25 years for that, and he only did 7 for the attempted murder. Okay, we move on to another violent assault in New York City, the dreamscape for vacationers and residents alike. Violent assault of off-duty NYPD rookie uncovers tensions with police safety and force protocols. This article comes to us from Fox. Okay, now that I have wetted my whistle, the brother of 27-year-old New York City Police Department officer, I'm going to butcher this name, I apologize in advance, Chowdhury Nafees, I don't know, who was beaten by 2 men in the Bronx Saturday. So you have the Queens. Up farther north in the city, you have the Bronx, totally separate. The Bronx sits on top of Manhattan. Queens is over to the east of Manhattan, along with Brooklyn and so forth. They told Fox News Digital the suspects in the attack escalated their brutality after finding out the victim, Nafees, was a police officer. Wayne Lucas, 23 years old, and Tavion Hargrove, 23, were arrested in the assault that left Nafees, who was in uniform on his way home from work, horribly mutilated. The pictures, I couldn't even find an unblurred picture. This poor guy is messed up pretty bad, but we'll get to that in a minute. Just before 4 a.m. on Saturday, Lucas and Hargrove allegedly forced the off-duty rookie officer to the ground, stomping on his face and causing multiple fractures. They then allegedly held a knife to his throat before forcibly removing his wallet, iPhone, and gun, and running away. Nafees' partner called the family and told them something happened, to meet them at the hospital and so forth. By the time his brother and his mother got to the hospital, they found him unconscious and bleeding from his eyes. The left eye was completely, horribly mutilated, the brother said. There was a boot strap or boot mark. I don't know exactly what he meant. I think he meant a boot print on his face, which was clear that somebody stomped him very, very violently. You can see the tracks on his face. He suffered severe head trauma and will need reconstructive surgery. His left orbital bone and right cheekbone were also fractured, among other injuries. While the attack appeared to be random, the brother said it escalated dramatically when the suspects found out his brother was in law enforcement. So there's 2 parts of this article. They kind of do a poor job of delineating these 2 things, but there's obviously this horrible assault of this police officer who, from what it sounds like, was doing nothing wrong. He was just walking home from work and he got jumped. And these 2 guys allegedly jumped him. He was jumped by 2 guys. We don't know if it's these 2 or not, whatever. That's a court matter for the courts to decide. But when they found out he was a cop, according to his brother, they basically started curb stomping him almost and beat his face in, messed up his eye, all kind of stuff. The problem the article brings out, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It winds up being a pretty extensive article. But who was this? Garland is the, I don't know, the article, either I missed it or it doesn't say it clearly, but one of these guys who's a rep for the NYPD or the union or something like that, he was saying these perpetrators had a knife to him, and basically the officer was afraid to pull his gun because he was concerned. He voiced concern to his coworkers or his union rep or whoever it is, that he was worried if he shot these guys who were brutally beating him and probably, I mean, I hate to say it, but they probably ended his career in law enforcement with his eye messed up that bad and whatever else. And I hope he makes a full recovery, make no mistake, but he's probably never going to be the same again. He'll probably have a very difficult time if he ever tries to just be a regular beat cop again. So, which is horrible. But he was concerned about shooting him because he says he had every right to do that, the guy says, but he's thinking in that moment, should I do that? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be held publicly on trial? And all of this for simply defending himself. Now, an interesting part in another article I read, which honestly, assuming this is true and I have no reason to believe it's not, made me feel even worse for this poor cop. In another article, the brother of the police officer who was beaten said he had completed the schooling and the college to be an engineer, or he could have, or whatever. I think he had completed the schooling to be an engineer, but he chose to be a cop anyway because he was a younger guy, like 26 or something. He wanted to serve his local community, according to his brother. And now he's probably jacked from doing either of those two things because of these horrendous injuries. And guys, don't forget, if you've ever been brutally assaulted before, there's not just the physical, there's the emotional and the psychological trauma of taking a nasty beating and just being assaulted and going through that. This guy has got a serious road of recovery ahead of him, not just the surgeries, reconstructive and so forth, but and therapy that's going to follow. He's going to have a lot to deal with psychologically when this is all said and done. So anyway, really, really sad story. Way to go, New York. What a shame. What a mess. Let's move on. We got one more, and then we're going to get some better stuff. Okay, police officer dies by suicide after suffering complications from LASIK eye surgery, the parents say. This comes to us from Fox News out of Pittsburgh. Those who knew 26-year-old Ryan Kingersky, I think it's Kingersky, all agreed he was full of life, charismatic, loving, funny, witty. His mother, Stephanie, remembered he was a police officer at Penn Hills. He loved his job more than anything. His parents, twin brother, girlfriend, co-workers, and children in the community all loved him, and he loved them back and was honored to serve and protect in Penn Hills as a police officer. He said he would do it for free, according to his mother. However, it took just 5 months after having an elective surgery, one that generally takes seconds to complete. 12 seconds, his father said. 12 seconds was what it took for him to have his surgery. That took his life away from him, according to Tim Kingersky. In August 2024, Ryan had LASIK surgery at LASIK Plus in Pittsburgh. He took his glasses off, handed them to me, and said, "I won't need these anymore," his father said. Ryan's parents said things changed quickly and complications from the surgery started immediately. On the ride home, he kept saying words to the effect of, "Something's not right with my right eye," according to the father. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "It's very foggy. I can't see out of it, and the pain in my head." The pain and blurriness got worse, and then came the relentless migraines. Ryan's family said he was supposed to go back to work in a few days, but was never able to return to work again. In the fall, he began sharing his story. He posted on social media about the side effects of his procedure, leaving LASIK Plus a negative review on November 18. On November 19, we got a letter from LASIK Plus saying that they would no longer see him as a patient. Tim Kingersky said, that's his father. Now, I'm not going to get involved in the dispute here. Obviously, I'm just some guy talking about this on the internets and the radio. But we go to the former science manager at the FDA, Dr. Morris Waxler, the former science manager on the LASIK team at the FDA, has this to say. He says LASIK statistics are misleading and patients aren't informed of the dangerous effects, according to Waxler. What are those serious effects? Irremediable pain, constant itchiness of the cornea, can't drive at night, can't see details. These are not small matters, Waxler said. The company, LASIK Plus, responded with a statement saying, we want to make sure we give them their fair chance here and share both sides of the story. They responded with a statement saying, the safety and effectiveness of LASIK is established by a large body of peer-reviewed clinical data, more than 7,000 individual studies over the past 25 years. LASIK is a safe and effective correction option for those patients who are medical candidates. Now, back to Kingersky. His father says the note he had left says, this is horrible. The note says, I can't take it anymore. LASIK did this to me, Tim Kingersky said. Now his parents want to use the tragedy to advocate and warn others. We posted Ryan's story on Instagram. We posted Ryan's story on TikTok. 7 million people have viewed his story, and the amount of people that have reached out to us to say, I was considering it. Now I'm not. So, folks, again, we've covered this a number of times in the past. Here at the Make It Out Alive broadcast, however you want to phrase it, we don't try and tell you what to think. We don't try and give you our opinions unless we clearly state that's what we're doing. We try and give you the news, the information, as far as the facts. You make your own decision, and we certainly don't give medical or legal advice and so forth. But that being said, I would strongly, strongly recommend you to do a lot of research. We have the internet. The internet isn't insanely, immensely valuable tool for doing research. Years ago, I remember growing up, if you wanted to do research, you basically had two or three things you could do. You could read the encyclopedia set. Growing up, we had the World Book Encyclopedia set and the Britannica Encyclopedia set, and we were blessed to have both of them in my household. You could read the encyclopedia. You could obviously read newspaper articles and so forth. You could go to the library, and or you could call and write letters to so-called experts or other reference materials and see if you got an answer back. I did all of those things. Frequently, you didn't get an answer back. We have the internet now where you can literally, you don't even have to type. You can push a button and talk into your phone or computer, and it will convert it into words and letters for you, and you can search anything all over the world down throughout the history of recorded time, practically. Do your research. There's a couple of segments I can tell you right now we're out of time to get to about these COVID vaccines that they're having. It's interesting. They're getting more and more, releasing more information about the relationship between COVID vaccines and heart conditions that are downright frightening. So do your research. Don't listen to some talking head or voice on the internet like me or anybody else. Do your own research and then make a decision that's right for you and your family. This poor guy, I mean, this family, and I'm not blaming the LASIK Plus place. That's none of my business. I have no idea what went on. All we know is that according to him and his family, his eye problem, the surgery didn't correct it. It made things worse, according to them, and it led to him taking his own life. Or he says, I can't take it anymore. LASIK did this to me. So just do your research. Okay, now we go to Virginia. Hiker's tragic fall from rocks prompts heroic rescue by first responders at Crabtree Fall, Nelson County, Virginia. This comes from ABC Story. First responders faced perilous conditions as they attempted to rescue two hikers who fell from a waterfall after crossing a safety guardrail. Why did they do it? To take a selfie. One article says selfie, another one said photo. Who knows what happened? What we do know is these two hikers, I believe it was a male and a female. I don't know if they were together as far as boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. But the two hikers crossed a safety guardrail around 8 p.m. on Saturday, according to officials. Sheriff Mark Embray of the Nelson County Sheriff's Office described the mission as one of the most dangerous he could recall. I'm going to get a sip here, folks. Okay. Deputies Slate White and Seth Cavaness, I don't know. My apologies, Seth, but great job to Slate and Seth. They were the first to arrive at the scene, hiking more than half a mile to reach Keturah Hendricks, who was found clinging to a rock after falling approximately 50 feet. I don't know, Keturah, male, female, I have no idea, it doesn't matter, but just the other one I think was a woman. So anyways, it was getting dark out, so we knew we were going to be fighting the darkness, said Deputy Cavaness. You could tell she was going to go into shock. She was shaking. So it was a female. Okay. I must have missed that the first time around. The officers used a 30-foot canine leash to pull Hendricks to safety despite the risks of their own life. We had to deal with what we had. We were on slippery rocks, but on that point of time, we knew if we didn't act, she was probably going to die. Night Patrol Sergeant Stephen Bodek praised the deputies' actions, stating they put their own lives in danger. They are not trained as deputies to do that, but they did it anyway and saved the lady's life. So good job, guys. About 25 crew members hiked up and down the mountain retrieving supplies such as ropes, harnesses, wetsuits. They eventually recovered the second victim, Tania, Flowers, who had fallen 150 feet farther than Hendricks. Tragically, she did not survive. So the other article I read, you got to realize when I do the research, guys, I don't ever just want to go off of one news article or news report, and we almost never, ever, ever use Wikipedia. I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong or bad, but just about anybody can log into Wikipedia and put stuff. Now, frequently, Wikipedia can have some good information. But when I'm doing this, the true crime episodes, we try and go by multiple news reports. Not that the mainstream media can't get things wrong, but it can be corroborated and it's much more up to date, and you've got a source. When you put a name or a face to it, they tend to stick by it a little bit more sometimes. Anyway, the original, one of the other articles I read, it made it seem like it was boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever. Not that it matters. I'm just trying to paint a picture in my head here of what happened. So I guess these two ladies trying to take a photo or a selfie or whatever cross this guardrail. They slip. Where did they talk? Yeah, here we go. The chief said it doesn't look like it'd be slippery. This is the rock, the waterfall here. It doesn't look like it'd be slippery, but when you realize it, it's too late. When you fall on your sidewalk, you can roll around and scream about it, but if you fall at Crabtree, you may not have any recovery area. Now, what we're going to do, we'll dovetail into this. You know, I did that the segment a couple of weeks ago on being prepared for natural disaster. I think we're going to get into that a little bit later in this episode as well. You may hear we got a train just came through. We're doing this, recording this episode a little different time of day, so there's more train traffic coming through. If you hear the whistles, just go ahead and ignore it. We do this out in the knife shop, where we do the knife prep and building and so forth, making custom knives and other stuff for gearconvoy.com. Everybody wants, when I get questions or emails via, email or talking with people at trade shows and so forth, everybody wants to know what's one thing they can buy, or what's the one kit they can have that's going to protect them, going to give them the best options, all the functionality and so forth. Guys, that's, and I try it like a couple weeks ago to the emergency preparedness for natural disasters. Yes, there is a list of things you can have that you want to have, that you should have, whether it's a go bag or a shelter-in-place kit or a kit that you take with you on a daily basis, a vehicle kit, a pocket kit, whatever. But the most important thing is the mindset, the situational awareness, as we call it. Like these ladies here, situational awareness bell should have been going off when you cross a guardrail. And I'm not picking on these folks. One of them paid the price with their life, and the other is going to have this memory the rest of her life. When you cross a guardrail, it's probably there for a good reason. Then they stepped on rocks or whatever it was that happened. They may not have tested it as well as they should have, and they both took a tumble and went down the waterfall or whatever in the world happened. One of them, again, paid with her life. And we're not saying she deserved it at all. It's a horrible tragedy. Just doing something innocent, like taking a picture. They weren't law-breaking or whatever. Innocent mistake. But it cost one her life. Now this other girl is going to have to deal with this. Probably, who knows what kind of injuries. They didn't get into what kind of injuries she had. But she's going to have to deal with this the rest of her life. So situational awareness, mental preparedness, these things are far more important than just having the best kit and the best gear that you can possibly have. Now, we're going to get back into this a little bit more. We got to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to continue with the kits, and then we get into, what was the other one that's the hot story that was right after this one? I can't get to my page now. We'll talk about it when we get back. We'll see you after the break, folks. More Make It Out Alive with Sam Wilson after this.
The businesses you hear on Gold Country Radio proudly support your favorite radio station. Next time you visit one of our partners, consider thanking them for keeping the country classics and community news on the air. Bringing Klamath Falls the educational and entertaining programming that Gold Country Radio provides is what drives our community businesses to support not only this station, but ultimately our listeners. Our sense of community could not be stronger, as together we strive to keep Klamath country. Information about all of Gold Country Radio's partners can be found at goldcountryradio.org. For questions, please call this station at 541-238-6989. Again, that's 541-238-6989. Or email goldcountryradio@gmail.com.
You're listening to the MOA broadcast with Sam Wilson. Will you make it out alive? Okay, and we are back, folks, with the second half, the rest of the Make It Out Alive broadcast. I am your host, Sam Wilson. All right, now, before the break, we were talking about the whole concept. Okay, I got to tell you, during the break, I went to go get a snack, and there's these two stray cats that come to my porch, and I made the mistake of feeding them, like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months ago. And now these cats, they show up. like one of them there. So I gave them names. One of them is Dark Knight because I thought it was a he when I first saw her, but it's a she because she got pregnant and had kittens a couple of weeks ago, and she still got the baby weight with her. But just even before the kittens, when I first saw her, I thought it was a male, and just a very stocky, thick, just a well built cat. Really thick tail all the way down to the end, and just a stocky cat. Probably a good 15, 16 pounds, and she's a street kitty, which is pretty heavy for cats that got to go earn their keep on the streets and, eat when they can. Then the other one, I don't know what it is. It's a slightly smaller as far as, just overall bulk, but he's a little chubbier. It's a male, and I call him Mr. Floofers, okay? So Dark Knight and Mr. Floofers, they hit me up like 2 or 3 times a night. I'm a night owl, so I'm awake all through the night frequently, and they'll meow and scratch at the front door now that I feed them, and I got a little water bowl for them. And anyways, it's a whole mess, but they've got me. I think I'm this tough guy. They've got me completely wrapped around their little finger, their paws, and it's pathetic. I'm completely whatever they want, I do it. But the one now, this is the funny part is this. Dark Knight has clearly been socialized with other humans before because I have no problem petting her, and she'll come up at any time. She comes up in the afternoon sometimes when I'm out there eating like a hot dog or French fries from a local burger place, and she loves eating the fry sauce and the ranch dressing and out of the little plastic cups they give you. So, and she likes being petted and scratched and rubbed and so forth. Mr. Floofers, though, does not like being touched at all, even though he's warming up to me slowly. So what'll happen is when I'm feeding him, Dark Knight will come up, like the Dark Knight, like Batman, the Dark Knight. So Dark Knight both of these cats are pitch black too. They are black as night. And they'll come up there, and Dark Knight will let me pet him, scratch him, or scratch her and everything else. Mr. Floofers doesn't like it. So what he'll do is he'll walk up and sit there and headbutt and push Dark Knight out of the way so that I won't be able to pet and scratch him. And because Mr. Floofers doesn't want to be petted, nobody gets petted. Mr. Floofers, by the way, is very fluffy. He almost looks like he's not big enough, nearly big enough to be a Maine Coon. But if you look at like the snout and the nose, the face and everything, and he's very fluffy. He almost looks like he has a little bit of Maine Coon mixed in with him, and his face is very expressive. So anyway, you probably don't care about any of that, but I like cats. And the two of them crack me up. But Mr. Floofers doesn't like being petted. So when Dark Knight comes in, he'll sit there and headbutt him and push him out of the way so that he won't get petted by me. And I guess for some reason that's satisfying to Mr. Floofers. Okay, anyway, back to our story though. So over the years, and I'm not saying I'm some sort of survival expert or everything I say is law at all, but I do have a good bit of experience both spending a lot of time out in the wilderness myself. I just put out, in fact, on our Patreon page, just put out a good cooking video, in my opinion, very good cooking video showing how we cook or how I cook while out in the backcountry with my alcohol stove. If you're not familiar with it, alcohol stoves, they use methanol, which is or ethanol, which is a very easily obtainable and relatively cheap fuel. And the alcohol stoves are very light, very quiet. They're not as fast as other stoves. Excuse me. But I like them because they're light, they're quiet, and you don't hear them. They're very easy to use and work with and manipulate in the backwoods. Just released a great cooking video showing what I would make for like a typical breakfast, doing sausage and hash browns and eggs in the woods. Great video, I thought. Had good response to it and so forth. You can get that on the Patreon page and whatever. But anyway, try to get the video out there and try and spend time out there so that I know what I'm talking about within reason. Everybody's got a different thing that works for them or a different way and so forth. But I have had a lot of conversations over the years on internet forums, whether it's talking, bushcraft forums or knife forums or whatever else. We interact with other people. What we've experienced, what my take on this has been, especially the last 10 years and so and more in America, is people are no longer interested in going out. What we call them in the industry dirt time. Dirt time means you go out there, you go hiking, camping, backpacking, fishing, whatever it is you do. You go out there and you're on your hands and knees in the dirt, getting dirty, nasty, you stink. You got something there cooking over an open fire or stove or whatever else, but you're away from civilization, not on your phone, and you're actually doing these things, not just reading about it on the internets from the comfort of your home or your couch or whatever else. So my experience has been the last decade or more, Americans especially, they don't want to go out and get dirt time. They don't want to go out and do these things. They want to go, okay, show me the link on Amazon. Now I'm picking on Amazon. Amazon is fantastic. Everybody and their brother, I'm sure, wishes they had been an early investor or had thought of the concept of Amazon.com. But most people now, it seems, especially here in the States, they just want to go to the internet and go, oh, give me that. Tell me what give me the link for the best kit, the best knife, the best fire starter, the best this stove, this, that, and the other. And I'll just buy it and then I'll put it in my bin and I'll have it ready in my backpack or whatever. Guys, the gear is so much less important than the know-how and the mindset of knowing how to use it. And this applies to all of survival, whether in preparedness, maybe a more accurate pinpoint word, than just the gear itself. Everybody wants to just go buy something off the internet and have it there. Okay, now I'm done. I can go back to doing the things I want. You don't have to be some sort of insane, off the grid prepper living in a hut to be well prepared for things. But if you think you're just going to go buy a bunch of crap off the internet and be ready for whatever happens, you sadly are mistaken, my friends. It is much more about preparedness. Think about this. Have you ever been in a car accident? I think the vast majority of people probably have, whether it was their fault or not, doesn't matter. If you've ever been in a car accident, ask yourself a question. The day of your accident, did you wake up and go, I'm enjoying this morning coffee or whatever beverage it is or whatever your morning ritual is? Did you wake up and while you're doing that think, I think I'm going to be in a car accident today. I'm looking forward to this. I want to see what happens. I'm going to be ready for it. No, most people have no idea when an accident is going to befall them. Now, whether it's a natural disaster, an accident, whatever, bad fortune like these two ladies just had on this hiking trail in Virginia, no one wakes up, or most people don't wake up and think, today is going to be the day. People think, it could happen at some point, but I'll be ready when that time comes. And we're going to get to that in a minute with a study from FEMA that was pretty telling. You got to be ready and you got to be prepared. It's not just the gear. The gear is probably almost the least important part of it. It's knowing how to use it. I have literally, I don't think of myself as some sort of big time expert. I'm not at all. But to people that know me personally, many people have come to me over the years because I put my money where my mouth is. Not only by designing and selling and making outdoor gear and knives and other things, but I live that lifestyle to a degree as well. I go backpacking and hiking multiple times throughout the year. I go hiking on a weekly basis. I live out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains in the high desert of Southern Oregon. I go fishing during season regularly. And none of that is a brag. It's just simply saying I try and hone these skills and these mindsets and everything else. The majority of people I've spoken with, they go out and they buy a bunch of crap, and that's where it ends. So if you think that's going to be what saves you, you're mistaken. So take the time now to prepare yourself. There are, let's see, what we're going to talk about here. Everybody on these forums, that's what I was going to get to, is these forums. They all talk about what's the best knife. What's the best? If you're in the knife world, they have what's called super steels. If you're not a knife person, a custom knife, people that spend $1, $2, $3, $4, $500 or more on a custom knife or a high-end knife, you probably have no idea where I'm coming from. But there are things called super steels. There is your regular plain Jane variety of steels and cutlery steels that knives are made from, and then there are what's called super steels. These are steels that can be heat treated to very high levels of hardness. They offer a tremendous amount of wear resistance, edge holding, durability, all kinds of things. Very particular characteristics built and designed into that steel metallurgically. So it then becomes, this steel is no longer good enough. Now I need this steel. It's kind of like car guys and engines and suspensions and so forth. It can be a never-ending cycle of chasing the best steel, but it doesn't really matter if you yourself are not up to the task. Same thing with flashlights. Guys want the latest, whatever in the world, LED this and the different type of rechargeable battery that all of that stuff is far less important than being able to know how to use it and being prepared and having it ready. Ask yourself a question. If you woke up this morning and there was no power, you woke up, everything was dead in your home, what would you do? How long would it take you to get on track Do you have what it takes? Let's say your job calls or whatever it is you do for a living. They're like, don't come in today, or you get an email, a text, whatever it is. Don't come in, shelter in place for a couple of days. Would you have what it takes right now in your home to go at least 72 hours without missing a beat? What about 7 days? What about 14 days? How long could you go before things started to get very uncomfortable? That's far more important than just going to Amazon and buying a bunch of crap that you've never used or even taken out of the wrapper or the package. Okay? The preparedness, the mindset of knowing how to use your gear and tools is far more important in an emergency than just having the latest toys. Okay? The other thing you got to remember is real life is not the movies. People think they're going to go buy all this gear and they're going to become Rambo or Commando or MacGyver or whatever. Guys, that's not real. I make and design and have done for well over a decade, almost and a half, hollow handle survival knives. Okay. A lot of guys, not all of them, but a lot of people think they're going to go buy a hollow handled survival knife and instantly become Rambo because they possess this knife. That's not how it works, guys. It was a movie. Okay, so again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. We're not trying to judge anybody or make you feel bad. What we're trying to do is motivate. Take whatever gear you've got and prepare yourself, because no one really knows in that emergency. Most people don't wake up and go, I think I'm going to be involved in a flash flood today. I think I'm going to be involved in a car accident today. I think I'm going to lose power for the next 10 days today, or be involved in an ice storm that takes down the power grid and the communications grid. Okay, that's where we're getting at. Everybody thinks that on the forums and all the places you have conversations. I'm not knocking them. I've made some good friends on forums over the years and so forth. They're like, do I have the best deal? Can I baton? Can I make this jungle shelter with my knife? Guys, I have read literally hundreds, possibly well over 1,000. I haven't kept track, but I've read hundreds of stories a year for well over a decade now about people involved in these wilderness survival stories. Typically, they last anywhere from 6 hours to 72 hours, but 3 days is about the average, if you take them all into account and do an average on there, that these survival stories last. In that time, the type of steel you have, the type of knife you have, the type of watch or flashlight you have, that is almost, I can truthfully say I've never read a story where that was the defining element that made a difference whether someone survived or not. Most people, it winds up being a couple of things. Do you know what the most common reason or cause of death in the wilderness is? What do you think it is? It's falls. People fall, like those two gals that in the previous story, they fell off this waterfall thing or whatever it was. One of them died, one of them didn't, thank goodness. Falls is what gets most people. Then after that, you start getting in a couple of things. There's exposure, hypothermia, hyperthermia, thirst, food, so forth. Most of these things are pretty short, though. Most people don't starve to death because they couldn't make a fishing spear or a jungle shelter or a lean-to or whatever else. Exposure is a killer, make no mistake, but clothing is going to make a lot more difference to most people than building a super snappy shelter with your big, Bowie knife or machete or whatever else. So anyway, the point is this. It's preparedness, whether it's on the trail, whether it's at home, whether it's in your car, whether it's urban survival or wilderness survival, that mindset of situational awareness, being prepared for what could go wrong. And I'm going to say this, some people may smart at this a little bit, but whether you're a father, a mother, or just a single male, female, whatever, you, especially if you have a family though, you owe it to your family to be prepared. I don't sell this stuff. I do sell knives and other things, but I'm not trying to hawk a product here. You can get everything you need from Amazon, Walmart, a lot of different places to get the job done. It may not be fancy, but you'll get it done. The point is, I can't sell you knowledge or experience. You got to go out and do that yourself. You should be prepared to take care of yourself and your family to a reasonable extent, and then hopefully help others if possible. But you're not going to get that from just buying a bunch of crap online. So anyway, that's it. We'll leave it there. I'm not trying to sit and preach. Another quick thing though, serrations. We'll do this in another episode, but serrations come up a lot. A lot of people are like, should we have serrations or not? Guys, serrations are a fantastic addition to a survival or a whatever, a last ditch type of knife, preparedness knife. Why? They're extremely functional. Even when the knife is dull, it will still continue to rip and tear if it has serrations. Now, guess what? I don't offer serrations on any of my knives. I offer saw teeth, which are a whole other animal we'll get into another time. But you know why I don't offer serrations? One of the age-old debates on the internet and knife forums is serrations. Do you know why, in my experience, the vast majority of people don't like serrations? It's not because they're an inferior cutting edge. It's because they can't sharpen them. In my opinion, a perfect survival knife would absolutely include serrations of some sort somewhere on the knife. Because even when the edge dulls, the tips on the serrated portion of the knife are going to rip and tear. It may not cut cleanly, but it will cut and rip long after a smooth, plain edge is dulled. But we'll get into that another time. Serrations are great, and they're easy to sharpen. We'll do a whole segment on sharpening serrations another time. Very easy. It doesn't take any specialized equipment either. So that's that. We're going to dovetail this with the next story. Question: Are Americans prepared for disasters? FEMA's survey reveals key findings. This comes to us from a website called Risk and Resilience Hub. Now, I've come across this website. Pardon me for a second. Okay. I don't know about you, but I hate when people take a sip of something and go, So I went ahead and threw that in there for you. Gave me the opportunity to make a joke. Anyway, riskandresilienchub.com. In early 2024, FEMA, which for those of you outside of America, that is the Federal Emergency Management Authority, I think, whatever it is. It's emergency management, that's the name they gave it. It's about as useful as the rest of the government, but here we are. FEMA released the result of the 2023 National Household Survey on Disaster Preparedness. This survey of people from across the U.S. gauges the nation's disaster preparedness actions, attitudes, and motivations. Results from the 2023 survey indicate that slightly more than half, 51%, of Americans believe they are prepared for a disaster, and 57% took 3 or more actions to prepare for a disaster within the last year. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe that at all. I have talked to people for years, well over a decade, probably going on 2 decades, about disaster preparedness. What people say and what the truth is are very, very different things. Do you really believe that more than 1 out of 2 people you meet are prepared for a major disaster? A lot of people say that, and I can tell you from conversations as recent as the last month or 3, you ask them, oh, what have you done? They quickly fall apart. I got some water bottles I put in the pantry. I got some beef jerkies. I got some canned goods. Okay, sounds good, sport. You know. So, anyways, but we'll leave the veracity of the verity of this survey for another time. The most common actions people took to prepare for a disaster were assembling or updating disaster supplies, 48%, and making a plan, 37%. The least common actions were planning with neighbors, 12%. I can believe that. I would be surprised if 10% of people planned with their neighbors and 14% got involved with their community. There was a large increase of people who assembled or updated supplies, from 33% in 2022 to 48% in 2023. But there was a large decrease in the percentage of people who signed up for alerts and warnings, blah, blah, who cares about that phone crap. Only 50% of people believed that taking steps to prepare for a disaster would help them getting through a disaster, and were confident in their ability to take those steps. I don't even believe that. 50. Okay, only half, 1 out of 2 people believe that taking steps to prepare for a disaster would help them get through a disaster. Do you realize how stupid that is? This is why you can't trust. This is why you can't trust the average person. How could you not believe that taking steps to prepare for a disaster would help you? I'm just reading the data though, folks. There was, however, a strong association between having awareness of how to prepare for disasters and taking action. This one's so dumb, I'm going to skip it. It's like a paragraph and a half of basically probably people 25 or under reading a bunch of crap off the internet. It makes no sense at all. Okay, now, this was another salient point from this segment, though, and this is a call to action, really, for people, especially younger folks or middle-aged and younger folks. People who were 60 years old and older were about as likely as people between the ages of 18 and 59 to feel prepared for a disaster. However, people ages 60 and older were less likely to have taken many preparedness actions compared to people between the ages of 18 and 59. So what do we take away from that? Folks, if you have elderly people in your life, or if you are an elderly person, your parents, grandparents, who, I don't care, whatever, I don't care what age you are, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are to you, people 60 years old and older, you got to help those people. We got to help them to prepare because they believe they were ready, but they took next to no action to do something about it, which means they're not prepared. Again, ask yourself, when was the last time you were in a car accident? Did you wake up that day and think, I'm going to be in a car accident today? I'm going to be prepared for that. I'm going to be in a flash flood today or a tornado. I have been involved in all of those things and many others, like I'm sure many of you out there have. I never woke up and said, I think I'm going to be violently assaulted by a psychopath today. It doesn't happen when you're ready for it. It happens, as the old saying goes, when you least expect it. Okay, now we got to breathe through this story, and then we're going to wrap it up with a great story coming out of the southeastern U.S. Let me have a sip. I'm a big fan of food safety. If you listen to this show, we talk frequently, regularly about all the garbage ingredients that are in our food. I don't buy a lot of processed food. Most of my meals are a plain meat that is cooked, steak, chicken, or pork. Cornish game hens are fantastic as well. I have a rotisserie machine. Cornish game hens are divine. But a meat and then like a rice or a pasta dish on the side or eggs. Steak and eggs is one of my absolute favorite meals. I can do that almost any time, day or night, any day of the week. It is amazing. My point is not that I'm superior or better. I'm just saying I am so distrustful and so disgusted by most of the processed food. I can't even eat it. If you ever look into the ingredients, you'll feel the same way. Listen to this. FDA may ban yoga mat bread ingredient. That's already illegal in Europe. New York Post. The feds are eyeing a crackdown on a controversial chemical that could be hiding in your avocado toast. Avocado toast, excuse me. Got a little excited there. The FDA announced this week it's ramping up its review of food additives with ADA, the so-called yoga mat chemical used in some breads and baked goods. A ban would bring us in line, the U.S. in line with countries like China, India, Australia, and those in the European Union who have already pulled these chemicals from the food supply chain. No parent should ever worry about what's in their child's food, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said in a statement. Guys, briefly, we don't get into politics here on the MOA broadcast. I hate people pushing their politics on me, and I don't push mine on anybody else, whatever you may or may not think those are. A lot of people like or dislike this Robert F. Kennedy Jr. guy here in the U.S. They dislike him, like him, whatever. I don't care what his politics are. If you are going to fight to get chemicals, additives, petroleum distillates, dyes, and other garbage and crap out of our food, I'm all for that push. This is not a political issue to me. This is a longevity and a health issue to me. But we'll keep moving. We're taking decisive action using every authority we have to clean up the food supply and protect American families. Now, why do they add this yoga mat bread ingredient, ADA, to bread? It makes the dough softer and more elastic, but it's also used for the same purpose in the production of rubber products like yoga mats and flip-flops. Ugh. That's disgusting. Guys, I mentioned this on an episode a couple of weeks ago. I don't have much time to get into it. Make your own bread. It takes like 5 ingredients and about an hour a week to make 2 big or 3 big loaves of bread with none of that bull crap in there. Look it up. Look up simple bread recipe on an internet search engine. It's extremely easy. You don't want to be buying store-bought bread. Excuse me. I'm losing it here at the end of the show. We're running out of time. I got to move on. About a year ago, ADA was listed as an ingredient in nearly 500 food items. Now it has dropped to 55 as many companies have phased it out under growing market pressure. Let's see. Skip that. Good point. Can't get to it. Yada, yada, yada. They put this in all kinds of bread and flour products. It's disgusting. It's like that lab-grown chicken nuggets. It's gross. I don't even want to. We'll get to this next week, though. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has announced a plan Tuesday to phase out 8 petroleum-based synthetic food dyes from America's food supply. This has been in your food. Soda, PepsiCo is a big one. They're trying to phase it out. Kudos to them. I don't care if it's their economic motivation or whatever. The bottom line is getting rid of this garbage is good for us. Oh, so disgusting. We'll get to that next week, though. Okay, guys, time to wrap it up. Let's go to Florida. That was a good sip. Our headline. This comes to us from Ocala News. OcalaNews.com. Naked man with penis pump arrested near Ocala gas. Naked man with penis pump arrested near Ocala gas station, police say. A 63-year-old man was arrested after he allegedly traveled to an Ocala, that's in Florida, gas station, took off his clothes and used a device known as a penis pump while waiting for a quote-unquote unknown woman to arrive for sex on Monday, May 26th at around 2:45 p.m. He didn't even wait for nightfall. The police department responded to a racetrack gas station after receiving reports of a man who was naked by the semi-truck gas pumps. A witness told the police department that a quote-unquote fully naked man, later identified by police as Morriston resident, allegedly Edmund Joseph Claremont IV, was observed exiting a pickup truck. According to the witness, he had a clear and black penis pump attached to his penis. After the witness reported the incident to the gas station, several employees confronted him. Then he entered his pickup truck and drove away. An officer arrived and viewed the security footage. After a brief chase, he was pulled over. He was observed putting his clothes back on while being pursued by law enforcement. He allegedly told the officer he did nothing wrong, even though a search of the vehicle revealed a clear and black penis pump was found on a grocery bag, and an open Budweiser container, the king of beers, if you will, was allegedly observed in a cup holder along with several unopened bottles of alcohol. He claimed he had been informed that an unknown woman frequently travels to the racetrack to engage in sexual activity with the truck drivers. He just wanted to have sexual intercourse with the unknown female for pleasure, according to the report. Allegedly. He was placed under arrest and booked into Marion County Jail, where he is currently being held on a $1,500 bond. He is being charged with exposure of sexual organs and failing to obey a law enforcement officer. Folks, I guess I'm getting old because when I was a kid, if someone said, "I'm going to pump you up," it meant something totally different. All right, folks, don't wait until you have an emergency to prepare. If you wait, it may be too late. If you don't make it out alive, you don't make it out at all. Stay safe out there, folks.